Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Kmart, and I want to talk about some basketball. And today we are going to be talking about the NBA Summer League, or at least the first day of Summer League, which was yesterday. And just what a kind of sort of disaster it was for a lot of the top draft picks from this year's draft. If you haven't been paying attention, uh, four of the top five picks have already sort of been playing a little bit in this summer league, and for a couple of those guys, things have not really gone as well as they would like, but maybe not for the reasons why most people would anticipate. So we're just going to dive right into it here, and I'll stop being vague about it. We'll start with the number one pick in the draft. Victor Wembanyama made his debut yesterday after being in the news for some other stuff, some quote unquote drama off the court, a story that's just kind of ugh, fueling a lot of Twitter talk, but honestly felt a little bit dumb. But he had the chance to put all that aside, go out on the court, and show us all what the start of the Victor Wembanyama era in San Antonio was going to look like. And it was a mixed bag, honestly, to put it maybe the most politely that we can. He ended the game with 9 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 5 blocked shots. Not so bad there with some of the non-scoring stats, but the shooting was a problem. He went 2 of 13 from the field overall. He was 1 of 6 from beyond the arc, so he really could not buy a bucket. In fact, almost half of his points, 4 of his 9, came at the free throw line, which he hit all 4 of his free throws. You know, that's always a nice thing, and always a concern for big men. They tend to be a little bit lower on the shooting percentage. So at least he hit his free throws, but real kind of Jekyll and Hyde, if anyone still understands that reference, kind of play for Wembanyama, right? He was good on defense, 8 rebounds, 5 blocks. Obviously, that's a part of his game that we were all looking forward to seeing anyway. He saw the floor relatively well. He kept his turnovers somewhat limited. He had 3 assists and he had 3 turnovers, so at least you break even on that front. It's just that the shooting was so unbelievably bad. 2 of 13 is god awful, including a couple of missed shots really right at the rim that, eh, maybe it was jitters, maybe it was nerves, whatever, but you cannot afford to miss shots like that when you're, 7'4". So a little bit of a concern. Not the scoring output that we wanted to see, not the shooting touch that we were looking for. But the real concern sort of came afterwards. In the post game interview, they talked to Wembanyama, and he sort of mentioned that he didn't necessarily always know what they were doing with some of their sets. He felt like he was a little uncomfortable, maybe. He talked about sort of fatigue being a little bit of a factor. So, unfortunately, these are all concerns that existed for Wembanyama before he was even drafted. He was playing in the French league, yes, but there were questions. How will he adapt to the NBA game? Will he be all right in terms of his level of fitness to play the the NBA or the American game? And at least in this first game, this first match of Summer League, a lot of those concerns seemed to be a little bit valid. Now, every player is going to have a dud, regardless of whether they're a star or not, right? And Wembanyama's no exception. He had a relatively weak game here. And if you're the Spurs, I don't think you care in the slightest about the actual stat line. The shooting was rough. Yes, whatever. You move past that. The thing that you need to focus on here, if you're San Antonio, was the stuff he said after. Feeling like he wasn't 100% comfortable, feeling like he didn't always know what they were doing, feeling like he was a little bit tired, sort of exhausted after the game. That's the stuff that you need to address immediately. His conditioning and his comfort and his familiarity with your team's offense and your team's system. There's still a whole hell of a lot of both the Summer League and presumably sort of preseason training camp, things like that, to get him up to speed, but that should be the concern if you're the Spurs. Don't worry about the scoring, don't worry about the bad shooting, don't worry about the jokes on Twitter, which admittedly some of them are pretty damn funny, but that can't be your focus right now. Make sure Wembanyama, who is supposed to be the focal point of your entire franchise, the face of your franchise moving forward, you need to make sure he is on the same page as everyone else on the floor, as your coaching staff, as your training staff, etc. He has to be the anchor that everyone else rotates around. And obviously in that first game he admitted afterwards that wasn't really the case this time. He felt like he wasn't 100% there. So definitely something to address, a very significant concern, but there's still plenty of time before the season starts, and those are the only concerns I think that they should actually be paying attention to. In terms of the performance in the game, who cares? It was rough. Move on. Give him more time. He's still, like, what, 19 years old. It was a rough debut, but we'll be seeing more of him presumably over the rest of the summer league, over the Spurs sort of training camp and preseason. So he'll have plenty of time to shake things off here, but they do have to make sure he's comfortable as part of that process. So not a great night for Wembanyama, but I don't really think it's as big a deal as everyone's sort of joking around with it being. But for Wembanyama, honestly, he kind of got the better end of the deal right now, because some of the other top draft picks that we saw last night did not have as good of a time, which is kind of ironic because their stat lines were probably better than what Wembanyama had, but the end result was kind of rough. Talking about Scoot Henderson and Thompson, the third and fourth picks. We'll start with Scoot as the number 3. Things started out pretty damn well for him, right? Scoot Henderson and the Blazers go out there playing a game against the Houston Rockets, against Thompson. Scoot was impressive. 15 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, nabbed a steal. Slightly shaky shooting, 5 of 13, not fantastic, but he was still out there. He was making contributions. He really kind of just lit things up at the start of the game, to the point where I would think there were some Blazers fans out there who were already kind of poking fun at the Hornets, saying, "Hey, you could have had this guy instead of Brandon Miller. What were you thinking?" Blah blah blah. Which I understand it's all in good fun, but as of right now, Blazers fans, I don't know if you want to go poking bears, considering the entire future of your franchise is still hanging by a thread with whatever the result of the Damian Lillard trade is. But maybe that's the coping mechanism here. They know that they're balancing on a knife's edge, so in the meantime, let's make fun of the Hornets, who are also not in a great spot, right? So misery loves company, as they say, right? And the only people who maybe have it as bad as the Blazers fans are probably the Hornets fans, but that's neither here nor there. I just thought that was funny because there was some back and forth on Twitter between people. But in terms of the game itself, that was pretty damn good. We talked about Scoot Henderson's stat line. We also saw a whole hell of a lot out of Shaden Sharp. He goes out there, drops 21 points, grabs 7 boards, and we got to see a little glimpse of just what the Trailblazers' future might look like, with Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp sharing the floor together, sort of getting some plays going between the two of them. It looked pretty good. I mean, these are young guys playing in the Summer League against not full NBA caliber guys a lot of the times, but it looked impressive. It looked like there was potential here, and that's exactly what the Trailblazers and their fans want to see. And then it all kind of goes to shit a little bit. Scoot Henderson ends up leaving the game in the third quarter with what ends up being some sort of shoulder injury. Obviously does not come back to the game, and they go to get him an MRI after the match is over. Actually, I think before the match is over even, they start up that process. So a little bit of a concern here. I think one of the reports said that there was optimism that it wasn't like a dislocation or anything, maybe just like a stinger or something of that nature. The hope is that this is an injury that, yes, is going to hurt, but will not keep him out for significant time, and definitely, won't affect Scoot Henderson, hopefully by the time the regular season actually gets underway. But, you know, not 100% sure there. Always kind of scary when one of your top draft picks goes down with an injury like that. So the Trailblazers are going to be keeping a close eye to see what the health of Scoot Henderson looks like. But this is where we get to the awkward part, because Scoot Henderson was not the only top draft pick who was hurt in that game. Talked about the fact that they were playing the Rockets, who sent Thompson, the number 4 pick, out there, and basically the same scenario played out. Thompson looked really good in his time on the court. 16 points, 4 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals, and 4 blocked shots. Very, very strong in the defensive end. Shot 6 of 13 from the field. So again, not the greatest of shooting, but better than what we saw from Scoot or Wembanyama. So he was looking pretty good here. And then he goes down as well. Sprains his ankle in the fourth quarter, does not return. I believe they said it was something like a high ankle sprain. So he's expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks, which honestly is not bad. 3 to 4 weeks is a relatively short timetable, but it does mean that he's going to miss the rest of Summer League if that diagnosis does hold. So, you know, you have the number 3 pick and the number 4 pick going at each other on the first night of this Summer League. I know technically there was the Sacramento and the Salt Lake City one, but this run of the Summer League, it was the first night. And 2 of the biggest names go down with injuries and may not play the rest of Summer League. So it's rough. It's a bummer, right? I mean, this is the risk you run with Summer League, but you very rarely expect injuries of this nature to really happen. So 2 of the top draft picks go down in Scoot Henderson and Thompson. 1 of the top draft picks in Wembanyama has no injuries, but a really rough start to his Summer League run. So not great for a lot of the top draft picks, but there's a little bit of good news here. Out of the top 5, there are 2 guys who have either played well, avoided injuries, or both, but for different reasons. The number 5 pick, Asar Thompson, the twin brother of Thompson, is not hurt, really only because he hasn't played yet. His team has not participated in any Summer League action as of yet. But the other guy here was Brandon Miller, the number 2 pick. He has played 3 games here so far. 1 game, obviously, on the opening night of this Summer League, and then he participated in one of the previous ones on July 3rd and July 5th. And across those 3 games, his numbers they're okay. I mean, they're not massive, but you're looking at chances to grow, chances to play against NBA players, and that's what Brandon Miller has been getting here. 14 points per game, 4.7 rebounds, 4.3 assists, and 1 steal on 46.2% field goal shooting across those 3 games. So is he lighting up the scoreboard? No, not really. I'm not sure he's really been given that opportunity as of yet, but he's playing in the system, he's playing with his teammates, he's having a contribution, and he hasn't gotten hurt yet, which, you know, 2 days ago we would have said, yeah, why are we counting that as a positive for him? Well, you know, 2 of the top 5 picks have now gotten hurt. So honestly, for Brandon Miller to play 3 games and still be standing without having to use a walking boot or crutches, it actually is a little bit impressive at this stage, just because of how rough it's been for the other guys who have either played poorly or gotten hurt. So there you go. The start of Summer League has been a little bit of a disaster for some of those top 5 picks, but obviously, you know, the hope going forward is that this is all fixable and salvageable. Wembanyama is going to presumably sort of bounce back and get more comfortable in the Spurs system. Thompson and Scoot Henderson will hopefully have their injuries be as sort of short and not extensive as possible. Brandon Miller will continue to play, and at some point we'll see Asar Thompson as well. But yeah, been a little bit of a rough one here, but it's unfortunate, but it is the way that it is. But other than that, that's really all I wanted to talk about here. Just what a weird start it was to Summer League for a lot of these guys. But yeah, let me know what you think. What did you think of Wembanyama? Is it more of a concern than I made it out to be? Should there be more that the Spurs are trying to do to maybe get him into a better spot immediately? What do you think about the diagnosis on the injuries for Scoot Henderson and Thompson? Will they be back relatively soon? And what do you think about Brandon Miller? I mentioned his stat line. It's not amazing, but is it good enough for this point, right? We're 3 games into summer league for him. Is this cause for optimism, cause for concern? I'm not really sure. I'm kind of in the middle at this point. So feel free to share your thoughts. Let me know what you think. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you later.